The 2017 college football season rolls on as the calendar flips to October and a pecking order begins to take shape. Alabama, Clemson and Oklahoma have established their dominance with statement wins, while the teams behind them in the Associated Press Top 25 poll have, with the exception of Ohio State, posted spotless win-loss records and signature moments. Don't worry, Buckeyes, you can win out and probably still make the CFB playoff. Of course, on-field performance isn't all coaches and fans care about. Each week brings us closer to the first early signing day for college football recruits, December 2022, which accelerates just about everybody's timeline. With that in mind, we've asked the 247 sports experts covering AP top 10 programs to give us their team's biggest recruiting storyline. Number 1, Alabama 247 Sports Composite Team Recruiting Ranking 22. The current lack of a quarterback in the class. Several names have been connected to Alabama throughout the spring and summer. Guys like Utah commit Jack Tuttle, Kentucky commit Jarren Williams, the uncommitted Tanner McKee, Ohio State commit Emory Jones, and even the nation's number 1 player, Justin Fields. Ultimately, Alabama faces somewhat of an uphill battle recruiting elite signal callers in this class. Sophomore quarterback Jalen Hurts has a stranglehold on the position, and freshman 5-star Tua Tagovailoa has flashed in relief duty. Former 4-star Mac Jones is currently third string. The Tide hosted several for the Ole Miss game, including Fields. The hope is that the 663 shellacking did nothing but help Alabama's fortunes. Hank South Bama Online. Number 2, Clemson 247 Sports Composite Team Recruiting Ranking 17. Clemson traveled to Blacksburg, VA, to beat Virginia Tech, and the Hokies hosted many of their top targets over the weekend. There was some crossover in mutual targets on hand, including Hokies all-commitment Jordan McFadden, who added a Clemson offer back in August. The Tigers are working the flip and could be closing in on their first offensive line commitment of the class. Perhaps what was equally beneficial as a primetime win for Clemson this past weekend were bad losses suffered by LSU and Tennessee. Clemson is involved with at least 4 Vols commitments: Solcade Mays, R.B. Lynch Dixon, S.J.C. Horn, and S. Brendan Harris, as well as recent LSU decommit C.B. Kelvin Joseph, Anna Hickey. Clemson 247. Number 3, Oklahoma 247 Sports Composite Team Recruiting Ranking 9. The Sooners have 6 remaining scholarships for the 2017 class, and half of them will go to the defensive line. Among their top choices include 4-stars Bobby Brown, who will announce in less than a month, and Ronnie Perkins, and 3-star Daniel Carson. They're also looking for more at linebacker, where Merlin Robertson and Raymond Scott top the list. Both have visited, Robertson officially, and the USC pledged Scott unofficially, but the Sooners will have to pull both away from the West Coast. Same thing for 4-star Solomon Taliarupupu, who is expected to visit for the TCU game in November. Joey Helmer, Wenside. Number 4, Penn State 247 Sports Composite Team Recruiting Ranking 3. Penn State is in a great spot with several prospects, but has little to no room to work with in a class that already has 23 commitments. Defensive linemen are at the top of the board, and Tyreke Smith, Jason Owe and Micah Parsons are the most common names that come up when talking about closing the class. Many familiar names, like 4-star offensive lineman Rasheed Walker, safety Quantal Raines and wide receiver Solomon Ennis remain on the board, but right now the priority is on the defensive line. Sean Fitz, Lions 247. Number 5, Georgia 247 Sports Composite Team Recruiting Ranking 13. The battle for the nation's top overall prospect, Justin Fields, has a lot of ramifications for Georgia in this 2017. There could be as many as 7 top UGA targets waiting to see exactly what Fields does. He has taken 6 known visits to UGA since early June. If he commits to Georgia anytime soon, I would closely watch Army All-Americans Adam Anderson and Luke Ford. Both have said they are in contact and would like to play with Fields on the next level. Rusty Mansell, Dogs 247. Number 6, Washington 247 Sports Composite Team Recruiting Ranking 25. A pair of Washington commits were named to the U.S. Army All-American Bowl this week in all-purpose back Trey Lowe and defensive end Draco Bynum. Meanwhile, the nation's number 2 defensive tackle Tommy Togiai takes his official visit to see the Huskies this weekend. While Ohio State may be in the driver's seat for now, they'll have to hold off Washington and USC to land him. Chris Peterson and company are major contenders regarding this recruitment. Steve Wiltfong, 247, Sports Director of Recruiting number 7 Michigan 247 Sports Composite Team Recruiting ranking 14. It's Michigan's quest to beef up in the middle. The Wolverines are in a trio of intriguing defensive tackle battles in the 2018 class with 4 stars Tyler Friday, Michael Thompson and Rick Sandage all very likely holding Michigan in the top 2. Despite that, it's far from certain at this point that they're going to sign any of the 3. All 3 are expected to officially visit for the Ohio State game and are also expected to go down to the wire time-wise. Steve Lorenz, Wolverine 247 number 8 TCU 247 Sports Composite Team Recruiting ranking 19. TCU has loaded up on most of its needs for the 2018 class thus far. To date, the biggest home game has been against SMU, and although they didn't have an official visitor in town, it did help their recruiting efforts in landing their most recent commit, offensive lineman Ian Burnett, who attended the game as a part of an unofficial visit. With very limited spots, TCU is likely to use official visits for later in the season, with home games including Texas. Although, there could be some big names on campus, with the atmosphere expecting to be electric, with number 23 West Virginia in town, Jeremy Clark, Horned Frog Blitz number 9 Wisconsin 247 Sports Composite Team Recruiting ranking 31. Wisconsin likely closed out its 2018 recruiting class over the weekend, with 3-star cornerback Dante Burton Loganville, GAR, in town. Wisconsin won its Big Ten opener 3,324 over Northwestern. UWS secondary recorded 2 interceptions, including a 36-yard pick-six by Natrell Jemason. Burton pulled the trigger and committed Saturday night. Evan Flood, Badger 247 number 10 Ohio State 247 Sports Composite Team Recruiting ranking 1. After the loss to Oklahoma, recruiting momentum stalled a bit for the Buckeyes. But the team is on the upswing again on the field, and recruiting momentum is trending upwards again as well. The next big recruiting weekend for the Buckeyes will be the weekend of October 28, when Penn State comes to town, but with Maryland and Columbus this coming weekend, the Ohio State staff will welcome in 2 of their top 2019 defensive end targets in Arnie Ezekwu and Brandon Smith. While neither is expected to commit this soon, both are very high on the Buckeyes and both will be attending their first Ohio State game in person. Bill Kurelic, Bucknuts.